I told my husband I want a divorce after nearly 11 years, yet my heart aches for his embrace. How can I stay firm when every moment together floods me with memories? I'm torn between love and the need for freedom. Will I find the strength to let go?
Summary.
I recently asked my husband of nearly 4 years, and with whom I have been together for almost 11, for a divorce on Sunday. However, I now find myself wanting to hug him, hold him, and express my love for him. I will keep the background brief since this is nearly an 11-year relationship, but feel free to skip it if it is too lengthy. I apologize if this seems disorganized. I am a mess. My husband was not and is not a bad person, but he has been very immature and inconsiderate for many years. He has struggled with depression and other issues that he needed to address. He fell into a depression after his experience as an athlete. Due to a systemic issue, he lost his position on the team right before competing in significant competitions. He felt humiliated when he was asked to return his team belongings and repay the scholarship, which he could not afford at the time. The university recognized and corrected this mistake, but it was too late for him to compete. Following this event, he succumbed to depression and bitterness that plagued him for over a decade. For many years, he was so unhappy about what he lacked but never took action to improve his life. He dropped out of university and intermittently worked part-time jobs. I met him after the team situation. I could see his pain and felt sympathy for him. He had dedicated his life to becoming an athlete since childhood, and having that opportunity unfairly taken away from him was heartbreaking. Consequently, I assumed the financial, mental, and emotional burdens of our relationship. I worked full-time and made numerous sacrifices, avoiding purchases I desired in favor of necessities. However, I did spend on gifts for him occasionally to lift his spirits. I did everything I could to save for a future home while trying to ensure his happiness. Meanwhile, whenever he found part-time work, he spent all his money on dining out. I understood this was his method of self-comforting, but it became problematic. I approached him about his spending habits as gently as possible, though I sometimes became frustrated. Simultaneously, I bore his emotional baggage. He was always sad and miserable, perpetually lamenting what could have been, comparing himself to others and failing to appreciate what I provided. He also required constant praise and reassurance, even for day-to-day tasks that he should complete independently. If he cooked, he expected me to repeatedly tell him how good it was. If he did a load of laundry, he would remind me multiple times until I expressed gratitude, yet he rarely thanked me for anything I did. I consistently put my feelings and happiness on the back burner, attempting to help him heal and find peace. After years of this dynamic, he finally sought therapy, but during a recent argument, he confessed he had not taken it seriously. Now he cannot afford therapy and lacks health insurance. He has also been incredibly inconsiderate of me. This affects all aspects of our life together, but here are some examples. 1. Even while I worked 2 jobs and he did not have a job, having experienced a mental breakdown when he finally secured a full-time teaching position. He only contributed by cooking. 2. He has never planned or organized anything. I am responsible for all tasks. Even when I prepare 90% of things, he still calls me to check. This aspect has improved slightly recently. 3. He has never planned a date for us. I am always the one who makes plans and takes him out, but whenever he does anything, it is up to me to decide and research options. 4. After our baby was born, he did help a bit more around the house but never woke up when she did. For months, that responsibility fell solely on me. I requested additional support, but he did not respond until a few months ago when I broke down due to exhaustion. 5. He never took pictures of our baby and me and would engage in activities with her that I wanted to be present for, such as lighting the Christmas tree for the first time. I have consistently communicated these issues with him, being clear and direct about my feelings and needs. I do not subscribe to the "you should know what is wrong" ideology. I articulate my concerns. This brings us to another significant issue in our relationship. Every time we talk or argue, he either remains completely silent, fails to acknowledge what I said, and then pretends it never occurred, or he turns the conversation to himself, how he is terrified of losing me again. It becomes all about his feelings, and afterward he acts as if our conversation never took place. There are several other issues we have encountered that are also significant, but that could make this message excessively lengthy. We have had numerous discussions and arguments concerning his lack of action and his attitude toward our relationship over the years. I have consistently been direct and clear about my emotions, how his actions affect me, and the necessity for him to engage actively in our relationship. We briefly attempted couples counseling, which was costly, and he did recognize to some extent that he had always prioritized himself. Despite everything, I still love him, but I have not been in love with him for years. There have been extended periods when I desired to leave him, during which I felt resentment and even hatred. I have felt incredibly alone and miserable. I have struggled with feelings of inadequacy, believing that despite my sacrifices, he remains unhappy and does not try harder for me. I stayed hopeful that he would improve. I even had a child with him who is now 1 year old. I realize it was a foolish decision considering everything previously mentioned, but I wanted to start a family before it was too late. However, I do not regret having my baby. I have reached a point where I love him in a way that you do for someone with whom you have shared so much of your life, someone who has been a close friend to me. However, I no longer view him as my husband. At times, I do not even perceive him as a man. Now to my dilemma. On Saturday, I told him I wanted a divorce. Nothing happened to provoke this decision. There was no argument or major incident. I have wanted to leave for years but have stayed. I cannot do this any longer. We cried, embraced, and argued. He believes he can do better, but I am tired of his empty promises. Given his situation, we cannot separate immediately. His income covers half of the mortgage. The house is in my name as I was the sole contributor to the down payment and all closing costs. I pay for the other half and all other expenses, including food and utilities. We live paycheck to paycheck, so losing his contribution would be challenging. He cannot afford even to pay rent with his salary, let alone contribute halfway to the house payment. Therefore, we will continue living together for the foreseeable future. Yesterday, neither of us went to work. All day, I wanted to hold him and have him hold me. Despite my previous withdrawal from intimacy, I now crave it. I keep wanting to call him my love and embrace him. I own the house, and due to the current housing market, I cannot sell it for something less expensive as mine is old and worn. In addition, rent is triple the mortgage payment. My mother lives too far from my job for me to move in with her. My husband shares my car since his is broken, and his family lives even farther away. He is in his final year of study, so he needs to stay near his university. Moving in with his family would mean losing whatever he earns from his job to cover transport costs to the university. His entire paycheck would not be sufficient for rent, let alone assist with the house. Thus, we will be living together for an extended period. He is expected to graduate in December and has been searching for a better-paying job. How can I prevent myself from retracting my decision to divorce him? Despite his many shortcomings, he has been a dear friend. We could talk for hours, laugh, create stories, and immerse ourselves in them. He accepted my spirituality without problem, as well as my peculiarities stemming from untreated ADHD. He has been my closest person for such a long time. I know I deserve better and desire better. I recognize this cyclical pattern will likely never improve. But this turmoil is tearing me apart. I will see him daily and we must coexist until he finds a much higher paying job. We share one car since his broke down and he obviously cannot afford a new one. If anyone has advice on how to help me remain steadfast in my decision to divorce him, I genuinely need it. Now that he has left the house, I cannot stop crying, and I keep wanting to tell him that I love him. Story 2. My stepdad believes that sex is a requirement in any relationship and insists my asexual best friend must grow into their natural feelings. After hours of rants and accusations, I'm desperate for a way to make him understand we aren't broken. How do I explain? Mostly reposted from our asexuality, with slight modifications made to the post in order to better fit here and to enhance understanding for individuals who are not asexual. The summary is at the end. My best friend 19 non-binary and I 19 male-to-female transgender are both asexual. An asexual person is someone who does not experience sexual attraction and lean more toward the sexiverse repulsed side of the spectrum. Asexuality is a spectrum. Some asexual individuals are comfortable with sex, while others want nothing to do with it. We both feel personally repulsed by sex, although we do not have an issue with others engaging in it, and we do not plan to ever partake in it. Our friendship has grown very close, and we are considering the possibility of living together after college, even contemplating getting married for tax benefits. I have not felt romantic attraction in 5 years, and they are currently not interested in dating. This situation is wonderful, and I have been happier than I have been in a long time. However, my stepfather has a problem with it. He discovered I was asexual about 3 years ago when he noticed that I was not looking at a woman's backside while we were at a restaurant. I am a transgender woman, but he is very transphobic and treats me as a cisgender male, so he assumes I should be attracted to women. Initially, he was accepting, but he began to have a problem with it about a year and a half ago for no clear reason. Whenever I befriend a woman or an assigned female at birth non-binary person, my stepfather goes on long rants about how I should have sex with them because, in his view, women do not befriend men unless they want to engage in sexual activity with him. I always inform anyone, whether they are male, female, or non-binary, that I am asexual as soon as I exchange any contact information with them, so they do not misunderstand and know that sex will not happen between us. So far, this approach has been effective, and I have met 4 other asexual individuals, along with one guy who was unsure what asexuality meant, so I explained it to him and he understood. Despite the fact that all of my friends know that I am asexual and none of them have shown any sexual interest in me, my stepfather continues to be insistent on this topic. I met my best friend on Ace Space, a dating website for asexual individuals, but we agreed to remain friends due to the reasons mentioned in the first paragraph and the fact that we do not feel romantically attracted to one another. Last year, after spending Christmas with their family, we decided to celebrate New Year's Eve together and stay up until midnight. A few days before that, my stepfather initiated a 7-hour rant about how they likely wanted to kiss me at midnight. I did not inform him that they are also asexual and that we both find kissing unpleasant because he has a significant problem with my choice not to engage in sexual activity. So I let him carry on about how sex is supposedly a necessity and an obligation in a relationship, leading him to state that I am abusing my friend by not having sexual relations with them. My apartment complex has a gym on the top floor, and since I exercise there most nights, I knew I could go up there without raising suspicion, so I called my friend to discuss what had happened. We both agreed that his behavior was completely unreasonable, and that even if we were both allosexual, not asexual, his actions would still be unacceptable and display toxic views about sex. We concluded that I should tell him that they are asexual and hope for the best. After our conversation, I returned to my apartment, took a shower, and confronted my stepfather. While I did not mention Ace Space, I told him that my friend is also asexual, is grossed out by sex and kissing just like I am, and that we would never have children because we both do not like kids, and they are going to have a hysterectomy soon due to multiple health issues. He had also brought up the possibility of us having children together at some point, so I wanted to address that quickly. Surprisingly, he seemed fine with that and appeared happy for me, leading me to naively believe that the issue had been resolved, as he refrained from bringing up any of this until last week. A few days ago, I was texting my friend, and when my stepfather walked into my room, I quickly put my phone in my pocket. I did not want him to see my messages with them since we often share LGBTQIA memes and memes mocking prominent conservatives. I will not go into further detail about politics, but my stepfather is a conservative while my friend and I are left-leaning. He randomly commented on me hiding my phone screen, accusing me of viewing pornography. I informed him that I was not looking at pornography and that I find it disgusting. He then launched into a rant about how being disgusted by sex somehow makes me ungrateful for being alive, asserting that sex created me, and proceeded to explain that sex is an obligation in a relationship and how people in a relationship are somehow incapable of raping each other, and a host of other nonsense. He continued insisting that my friend would eventually develop their natural feelings and would want to have sex with me as they get older, as individuals assigned female at birth often experience a heightened libido in their 30s. Ignoring the fact that libido and attraction are completely distinct concepts, I reiterated that they find sex and kissing repulsive. He kept bringing up kissing, asking how I would react if they suddenly kissed me without consent, and that this view would not just change overnight. He then questioned how I could be sure they were not just lying to me to keep me close and secretly wished to have sexual relations with me. I persisted in providing examples of how I knew they were not dishonest about this, ignoring the reality that neither of us would lie to the other, such as having to look away from the screen when 2 characters kiss in a movie or television show. But he claimed they could merely be pretending. After 3 to 4 hours of discussion, he concluded by stating that I would have to overcome my aversion to sex in order to be a good girlfriend to them and maintain a healthy relationship with them. He keeps insisting that we are dating despite my ongoing clarification that we are just friends. Both my friend and I are exhausted by having to deal with this situation. We believe it is entirely acceptable for people to desire sex and recognize that most individuals do, but that does not apply to us. We genuinely do not care about what others do in their private lives, yet my stepfather continues to act as though we are attacking him by not engaging in sexual relations with each other, and I have no idea how to reason with him. Since most individuals here are not asexual, I thought I could receive some valuable advice on how to handle this situation, considering that I have only sought guidance from other asexual subreddits. I want to emphasize once more that my friend and I do not have any issue with what others engage in their private lives, as long as all participants are consenting adults. Regardless, my stepfather continues to feel attacked by us not wanting to engage in sexual activity with one another, and we both wish for him to simply leave us alone regarding this subject. But we are unsure how to approach him about it without the risk of me being evicted from the apartment. Summary: my best friend and I are both sex-repulsed asexual individuals, but my stepfather does not accept this and wants us to engage in sexual relations with one another. While we have no issue with others participating in sexual activity, my stepfather is uncomfortable with our disinterest in sex, and we are uncertain about how to reason with him and request that he leave us alone on this topic. Story 3. I've spent 3 years supporting my girlfriend's recovery from anorexia while struggling with my own body image. Despite my need to get healthy, she sees my diet efforts as a threat. I'm not starving, I just want to be healthy. How do we find a compromise? I am a 24-year-old woman dating my girlfriend, who is 23 years old and recovering from anorexia. She has made significant progress over the past year, experiencing only brief periods of difficulty, which she is strong enough to overcome without relapsing. We have been in a relationship for over 3 years, and her eating disorder has significantly impacted our relationship for most of that time. She confided in me about her struggles less than a year into our relationship, and I have consistently supported her. As two young women, we face the typical insecurities instilled in us by society. She developed an eating disorder as a result, while I grapple with depression connected to this issue. I have always been overweight and have wished to lose weight, but I lacked knowledge about nutrition and felt socially anxious about exercising and going to the gym, which led to me remaining stagnant, consumed by my grief without taking action. However, over the past few years, I have become more knowledgeable. I took a strength training class in college where I learned how to use gym machines and developed a passion for weightlifting. Additionally, I have gained extensive insight into dietary nuances by supporting my partner through her eating disorder and learning about better nutritional habits. Working in healthcare has allowed me to witness firsthand the consequences of not maintaining muscle mass as people age, and how this loss can adversely affect a person's independence and longevity. I have also been extremely dissatisfied with my body image. I experience premenstrual depressive episodes, often triggered by my appearance, which can incapacitate me for a day or two. I have been strong for my partner for a long time and have refrained from dieting to avoid triggering her eating disorder. However, my mental health has been deteriorating rapidly because of this decision. I am essentially prohibited from taking steps to lose weight in a healthy way to prevent any triggers. It takes a considerable amount of food to satisfy me, which complicates my weight gain. Calorie counting is the only effective method for sustainable weight loss, as it allows me to organize my meals in a way that keeps me feeling full while still being in a calorie deficit. However, my girlfriend's greatest trigger is tracking or calorie counting. She has proposed alternative weight loss methods that she believes are less triggering, such as drinking water to fill myself instead of eating, creating a calorie deficit through cardio rather than food, or just eating less and accepting hunger. I have firmly rejected all of these suggestions. Perhaps it is just my perspective, but those methods all seem like starvation techniques and unhealthy, disordered eating behaviors. Moreover, as I mentioned before, I fell in love with weightlifting and aim to continue this practice for as long as I am physically able, even into old age. I strongly dislike cardio, so I am not keen on the idea of spending hours on it, as I want the gym to be an enjoyable and sustainable part of my life. I also work out for only 35 to 50 minutes a few times a week. And if I aim to create an effective deficit solely through exercise, I would need to spend 2 to 3 hours in the gym every day for months, which is simply unrealistic. I have expressed my desire to diet for over a year, and I have abstained from doing so whenever she dissuades me out of respect for her. However, over the past month, my mental health has declined so significantly that I finally broke down and prioritized my well-being over my partner's, starting to calorie count behind her back. She eventually discovered my lie. While I am not engaging in an extreme diet or disordered eating, the way food is perceived in our home makes it difficult for her to see it differently. I believe I have the right to change my body if I wish to, especially since I am medically classified as overweight, but this is very triggering for her. We desperately need to reach a compromise since my mental health is suffering tremendously. I dislike my body and the associated health risks, but I feel powerless to address these issues without greatly distressing my partner. I feel trapped and helpless as I cannot improve my situation without a diet. On the flip side, her mental health suffers significantly and she risks relapsing whenever I attempt to make changes. Please help Reddit. For additional context, I am technically classified as having a normal healthy body mass index, but I am considered obese and at risk for heart problems based on my body fat percentage. I do not care about my weight or possess a specific goal weight. I simply want to reduce my body fat to achieve better health. Nevertheless, my girlfriend only focuses on the number displayed on the scale, insisting that I maintain a healthy weight and do not need to diet. Yet this situation is extremely distressing for me, and it deeply affects her whenever I try to improve my well-being, leaving me heartbroken that my attempts to help myself cause her so much pain. In summary, I am attempting to lose weight in a healthy manner for my own physical and mental well-being, but this is triggering my long-term partner's eating disorder and negatively impacting her recovery. How can we find a compromise?